When my daughter-in-law told me to leave the house, I smiled. I don't know why I smiled. Maybe because I had learned, over many years, how to hide pain behind a calm face. Maybe because crying never changed anything for me. I still remember the way she stood there. Her voice was not loud. It was not angry either. It was simple. Cold. She said, "Mom, it would be better if you stay somewhere else now." For a moment, the room felt very quiet. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. Tick. Tick. Like it was counting all the years I had lived in this house. I looked at her. I looked at my son, who was sitting on the sofa, staring at his phone. He did not look up. He did not say anything. So I smiled. And I said, "All right." Inside, something broke. But outside, I was still the same woman they had always known. Calm. Silent. Smiling. That night, I did not sleep. I sat near the window, watching the street light flicker. The house felt different. Not like home anymore. I kept thinking. How did we reach here? When did I become someone who could be asked to leave so easily? I was not always old. I was not always quiet. Once, I was a little girl who ran barefoot in the courtyard of her parents' home. My mother used to wake me up before sunrise. She would brush my hair gently and say, "One day, you will understand what life asks from a woman." At that time, I didn't understand. I only knew warmth. Love. Safety. My father used to bring sweets on his way back from work. My mother would save the best piece for me. That was my world. Then I got married. I was young. Nervous. Hopeful. I entered my husband's house with dreams in my eyes and fear in my heart. I promised myself I would be a good wife. A good daughter-in-law. A good mother one day. I woke up before everyone. I slept after everyone. I learned how to keep my voice soft. How to swallow my anger. How to turn tiredness into patience. When my children were born, my whole world changed. I forgot myself slowly. Not in one day. But little by little. I stopped buying things for myself. I stopped resting. I stopped asking. If my children smiled, I felt rich. If they ate well, I felt complete. Years passed like this. My husband worked hard. I worked quietly. When my son grew up and got married, I was happy. I thought my family was becoming bigger. Stronger. I welcomed my daughter-in-law with open arms. I treated her like my own daughter. I gave her the best room. The best utensils. The best part of my heart. But slowly, things changed. She started making decisions without asking me. She moved things in the kitchen. She spoke to me less. At first, I told myself, it's normal. She is adjusting. Then I told myself, maybe I am overthinking. I stayed quiet. I always stayed quiet. My son stopped sitting with me in the evenings. My grandchildren became busy with their screens. Meals became silent. I was there. But I was invisible. Some days, I would sit at the dining table alone, looking at empty chairs. Food would get cold. So would my heart. Still, I smiled. I told myself, this is life. This is how it goes. But the day she asked me to leave. That day, I finally understood something. Silence protects others. But it slowly kills you. That night, I packed a small bag. I folded my clothes neatly. I kept my medicines in one pocket. I found an old photograph while packing. It was of me, my husband, and our children. We were smiling. Really smiling. I held that photo for a long time. I thought of every sacrifice I never spoke about. Every pain I hid. Every tear I swallowed so my children would not see. And for the first time in my life, I asked myself a question. Did anyone ever really see me? I left that night and went to stay with my sister. Her home was warm, yes, but not mine. Every corner reminded me of years spent in my own kitchen, my own rooms, my own small routines. I sat quietly by the window, drinking tea that tasted like memories. I thought about my children, my grandchildren, the life I had built with patience and care. And I realized I had lived silently, but not unnoticed. Only I had chosen not to be heard. The days passed slowly. Some mornings, I received messages from my son, "Mom, are you okay?" I would reply, "Yes, Beta, I am fine." Which was partly true. I wanted him to worry less. To feel that everything was okay. But inside, my heart was heavy. I thought about the small things I missed. The laughter of my grandchildren while eating breakfast. The smell of fresh tea in the kitchen. The way the sunlight would fall on the dining table in the mornings. I had given all my love without asking for much in return. And yet, the absence of recognition hurt more than any loss. One afternoon, my granddaughter called me. She asked, "Grandma, why did you leave?" Her voice was soft, full of curiosity and sadness. I paused. I did not want to explain the adult reasons to a child. But I could not lie either. I said gently, "Sometimes adults forget how to listen, Beta." She was quiet on the line. And then she said, "I wish you were home." I felt tears behind my eyes, but I did not cry. I told her, "I am coming back soon, only when the time is right." Those days of absence made me think deeply. I remembered the sacrifices, the endless work, the nights I stayed awake when my children were sick, the meals I skipped so they could eat. All of it had been part of love. And now, it was time to speak about it. I called my son and asked him to meet me. When he arrived, I looked at him for a long time. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. Worried. I took a deep breath and began. Not angrily. Not blaming anyone. Just truthfully. I told him everything. How lonely I felt in my own home. How small slights, ignored advice, and dismissals hurt me. How the life I had given, silently, was never acknowledged. He listened. Really listened this time. Not on his phone. Not distracted. His eyes filled with tears. He said, "Mom, I had no idea." I smiled gently. This was the first smile in a long time that was free from pain. Later, my daughter-in-law joined us. She sat quietly. I spoke calmly to her, explaining that my life had never been about control, never about power. It had only been about love, patience, and care. I told her that my silence had been my way of giving, but my heart also needed to be seen. For the first time, she understood. Not because I demanded it, but because I shared my truth openly. Days after that meeting, small changes began. They began including me in decisions. Inviting me to sit with them. Asking my opinions. Even the grandchildren began noticing my presence more. I moved back into my house. The house felt warmer. I felt lighter. Even now, some memories hurt. Some words linger in my mind. But I have learned that speaking gently is more powerful than silence. I smile again, not to hide pain, but because my heart has been heard. Not because life is perfect, but because it is real. And real life, I realized, is better than perfect appearances. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks slowly turned into months. Life in the house felt different now. Not because anything had changed magically, but because I had changed. Because I had spoken my truth. Some mornings, I still wake up before everyone. I sit on the edge of the bed and listen to the quiet house. The ticking of the clock, the soft hum of the refrigerator, the faint chirping of birds outside. It's peaceful. And I like it that way. I go to the kitchen, make tea, and sit by the window. The sunlight falls softly on the table, warming the room. I watch my grandchildren from a distance, laughing, playing, calling my name. It fills my heart with a quiet joy I never thought I would feel again. One afternoon, my daughter-in-law came to the kitchen and asked me for advice on cooking. She said, "Mom, can you teach me how you make the biryani?" I smiled. Not because she needed the recipe, but because she was reaching out. Because she wanted to include me, not just as a mother-in-law, but as a part of the family. We laughed over small mistakes. I showed her little tricks I had learned over the decades. She listened carefully. I felt a warmth I had not felt in years. Even my son began noticing little things. "How did you organize the living room so nicely, Mom?" "Your tea is perfect today, Mom." Simple words, but they carried recognition, respect, and love. Some evenings, I sit alone and reflect on life. I speak softly to my husband in my thoughts. I tell him everything, about the quiet days, the difficult conversations, the small victories. I imagine him smiling, listening, holding my hand silently as he always did. I see my children more clearly now. I see the love behind their mistakes, the care behind their neglect, the kindness behind their busyness. I have learned that understanding comes slowly. Sometimes only with time. Sometimes only after hearts are ready to listen. The house is alive again. Not with noise, but with warmth. Not with perfection, but with presence. I sit at the dining table with them. We eat together. We laugh together. The evenings are my favorite now. The sun sets softly, painting the walls with a warm, golden hue. I sit by the window with a cup of tea, feeling the calm settle around me. The house hums quietly with life, small footsteps, distant laughter, the gentle clinking of utensils. Sometimes, I close my eyes and remember the years gone by. The silent sacrifices, the unspoken words, the invisible tears. I think of my younger self, running barefoot in my parents' courtyard. I think of the girl who married with hope in her heart. I think of the woman who gave everything silently, thinking it was enough. And now, I see clearly that it was enough. Not because everyone recognized it, but because I endured. Because I loved without expectation. Because I survived with grace. One morning, my granddaughter ran to me with a drawing. "Grandma drew this for you," she said, eyes sparkling. It was a picture of our family, smiling faces, warm homes, sunlight falling through windows. I held the paper close, tears threatening, but I did not cry. I smiled quietly, feeling the weight of all years lift a little. My daughter-in-law often sits with me in the kitchen now. We talk about small things, recipes, childhood memories, even favorite books. Her voice is gentle. Her respect is real. And I realize that hearts can change. I take slow walks in the house. I notice the small things, the old clock on the wall, the worn-out cushions, the soft carpet where my grandchildren play. Every object tells a story. Every corner holds a memory. And I am part of it all. I think about forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving myself for staying silent too long. I forgive the years I spent hiding my pain. I forgive the moments I thought love meant giving without asking. And I feel a lightness I had never known. Sometimes, I sit alone in the evenings and reflect on life. I speak softly to my husband in my thoughts. I tell him everything, about the quiet days, the small reconciliations, the laughter return. To the house. I imagine him smiling, holding my hand silently, comforting me as he always did. The house feels like home again. Not because everything is perfect, but because life has returned in its simple, real way. The conversations are gentle. The meals are shared. The silences are peaceful. I have started small rituals for myself. Reading quietly in the afternoon. Sipping tea slowly. Looking out the window and watching the world move. I speak when my heart asks me to. I do not hide anymore.